all are doing well out there tonight. Happy Friday to you. I hope you all are taking care of yourself, looking out for each other. If you're seeing something, saying something. Um, Tonight is clue number 3. So if you can provide your answers, if you're feeling it, let me know. I'd love to get some gifts out to you all. I'm celebrating my birthday month this time. But in celebration, seriously, I would love it if I can give away some gifts in the contest that I have. I will have the clue posted later in the video. And tonight's video, it reminds me of Charles Bronson. You know, when I was a kid, violence was somewhat encouraged as well as adored, especially when it was done by males, you know, because you had my ever favorite Clint Eastwood. And then along with that was Charles Bronson. He had a series of movies that were called Death Wish. And that's because in this movie, his wife, his real wife in his life, and his acting daughter were accosted in their house one day or evening or whatever by some really strange individual men. And they essayed them and did horrible things to them and then expired them. So Charles ain't about to put up with no kind of bull crap from nobody. That's what I'm saying. So he devised this plan to get even with the perpetrators of his family's crimes. And he did. And it lasted like, there was Death Wish 3, 4, 5, 1,000. But anyway, we used to love to watch him. You know, you got behind the intent, a man that's fighting for equality, looking for justice for his family, fixing to right the wrongs that have been done in the world, right? And ideally, you would think, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But in history, there are some people out there that do go hunting. Pedo hunting is one of them. And that brings me to the case that I want to talk to you about. It was back on June 2nd in 2012. There were two young men who grew up in Washington. And no, one grew up, I guess, in Washington, and then one moved into Washington. They had both had really fractured lifestyles. Their backgrounds and coming up was really rough. So I guess that was a bonding point for them as well. They turned out to be great friends. They had a lot in common. The first gentleman, Patrick Drum, the one that had grown up there, he had Irish blood as well as Native American in him, and he loved honoring his culture. He loved to be one with nature. He smoked tobacco. He did, probably all the things that Native Americans enjoy doing. He loved to participate in and loved to learn about, as well as, adhering to his Irish culture. So, his friend, when they first met, they met through his girlfriend. His girlfriend was having a party. There was another girl there that they knew, and this guy, um, what was his name? Gary Blanton. So Gary Blanton was a girlfriend of Patrick's girlfriend. They were friends, and then Patrick and Gary became friends. They just randomly met at this party. And that's how they got to know each other. And when they did get to know each other, they hit it off. And they were like, they would go hunting. They would go do all the numerous activities they like to do. They like to go to the woods. They did like hunting. I guess Patrick liked to hunt. Gary just liked to track. He mostly didn't want to expire any animals. So life was going on. They both had a history of abusing their bodies, putting substances in there and abusing their bodies. And they have been through trial and tribulation as far as that went. And that may have been another bonding point for them as well. Um, Both knew the woods very well where they lived. Patrick, he liked to do inhalants. I guess that's what his thing of choice was. And I guess he never really did stop. He would continue to do it off and on. When the mood would strike him, he would do it. Both men were supposedly in recovery. Gary was had been convicted previously of a crime. And a lot of times it would happen when I was a young girl. I don't know if it still happens very often now. Things have changed so much. But a lot of times with a guy, we would always date guys that were younger or older than us, or at least hope that we could date a guy that was older than us. And this Gary guy was dating supposedly a girl that was younger than him. They were engaging in sexual activity. Her family didn't like it and they pressed charges. And he ended up having to serve 4 months for that. And he also got put on the registration lists for people who have essayed and pedos. So he's on this list and he doesn't really feel like he should be on there. And maybe there's people on there that don't need to be, but nonetheless, he was registered as an SA. He eventually met a woman, he told her all about it, this is me, this is what happened. I was dating a girl. She didn't hold it against him. They felt like they were just buck in love right from day one. And according to her, it was. She said she saw him, she knew he was the one when she seen them. Now, I myself have never had that feeling. It must be a good feeling. So they got together and they had kids. She went to work. Gary came in from whatever he was doing with his friend. His friend left. Gary went to bed. And then she said Gary was a very calm person. He was always chipper. He was funny, a very, even keeled attitude. It's what she liked about him the most. But on this one night, he called and he's like, you need to get home. You need to get home right now. I don't know what's out going on with the baby boy. Come home. So she goes home. They eventually take the baby in to have it be seen. And it turns out that the baby's arm was broken in two places. And Gary saying he had no idea how it done. They blamed him for it, and then they started bringing up his past of him being on the registration list as well. So they said, you know what, better to err on the side of caution rather than to err, and have something bad happen again. So Gary had no choice but to leave his wife and his family. And that was the only thing keeping him on the straight edge. It was the only thing making him want to get up every day. If you look at the pictures of him, he looks just so freaking happy. When he has his kids, he looks happy and he looks at peace. But when he gets put out of the house, of course, what is he going to do? He ends up losing his job behind it. He's like couch surfing here, couch surfing there. And while this is all going on, Patrick, I guess, had devised a little plan of his own. He wanted to be just like Charles Bronson. So he's over there looking online at the registration list, and guess what he finds on that registration list? Oh, his ever best friend. He is so pissed off, he cannot just even stand it. So he calls Gary's wife. Hey, Gary's wife, you know what happened? He's on the SA list for registration for pedo. And she's like, yeah, we don't hide anything from each other. I know exactly what went on and I don't hold it against him. And he's like, damn, I didn't take you for being a person like that, where you would stay with somebody who was like that. Good evening to my True Clues aficionados. I'm here to provide you with my last clue for the victim of this first week of my birthday celebration. So here's my True Clues clue number 3. This case has not been resolved. It may not be resolved because of the incredible inaccuracies and overlooking of evidence in this case. I personally feel from how things have got down and what we know about people in our society that that would definitely would have been some type of essay stalker. Good evening, my Trues Clues aficionados. I'm here to provide you with clue number 3 of my True Clues clues. This is the last of one for this victim of this week. Starting on next week, we'll start with a new set of gifts and a new clue crime scene. Now, to finish off for this one, this case is not solved. And if it does get solved, I would be highly, highly surprised. There was an extreme amount of inaccuracy, incorrectness, and just overlooking of evidence in this situation. And there was a pedo who did come forward and say that it was him that committed the crime. He was in another country at the time, and he was brought back in, looked at, weighed, judged, and found not guilty. And I do believe he was looking for fame or whatever in that instance. So again, they looked at family members. Well, time went by, a number of years went by. Family members passed away, never knowing what happened to their loved ones. And then eventually, it's deemed that the family is not responsible. And the family members that are left now are extremely pushing for FBI investigation in this to get this resolved before any more deaths in the family so people can die in peace. I myself feel that this person, because they did engage in an activity that was out of their home, that involved people watching, what they did, enjoying what they did, putting in a lot of work to make people enjoy what they did. Well, I do believe that this young person had a stalker, and that this stalker definitely perpetrated the crime. Because if you look at it, there was another crime that was perpetrated, almost the same thing, around that same time. So I do believe that somebody was going to her place of activity, monitoring her, watching her, and then taking advantage of the situation. And there was an old detective that died, and his family is taking over the research, trying to resolve the situation. And with that clue, I hope to hear back from you. I would love to send a gift bag out to you. Let me know. You, you have until the end of the month, but I'm hoping that I would hear something by Sunday so I can get some gifts out to you all. Love you all. Take care. See you on the next episode. And she's like, you need to mind your own business. My relationship is not your business. So eventually he comes across Gary, and he starts up with Gary, and you're this and you're that. And they end up going into a physical fight. I mean, fisticuffs. And then they end up not talking for a long time. And Gary's still out there trying to survive. He's still missing his family. He doesn't have his family. He can't see his wife or his children, or everything is off. So he's doing his best to adhere to the rules. But he's going down the tubes fast. I guess he finds some place to stay, and when he's staying there, he just engages in video games. He really isn't, engaging with life after this. He has no job, I guess, no reason to go forward. I don't know if he's looking for a job or what the hell. But then all of a sudden, after about months of this going on, all of a sudden Patrick calls him and he says, you know what? You need a place to stay. I've got a place now. You can come and stay with me. Gary's like, really? Because we haven't been getting along. Patrick's like, yeah, I was wrong. Come and stay here. You need a chance to get back on your feet. Everything's going to be fine. Meanwhile, all of this thing, with the child abuse case is still being worked out. Nothing has been figured out yet. So probably Gary was in a corner, and this had been his friend for so long. So he goes out there and he's staying with them. Then one weekend they're going to go out hunting, camping, hunting, camping, hiking, whatever. All things that they like to do together. So they're getting ready to go out, and all of a sudden the wife of Gary was supposed to go over there and visit him. I guess she was seeing him on the side, even though she was not supposed to. Maybe she wasn't taking the kids around. I don't know. But she said she was supposed to go over there and see him. And then she got this text message from Gary blowing her off, saying, sorry, babe, you can't come. We're going to go camping tonight. And then she's like, what the hell happened? That doesn't sound right. She's definitely feeling like she got kicked to the curb. Well, little does she know, that's not even Gary texting. That's Patrick. And Patrick was like texting in the midst of committing this horrible, horrible crime. So he had a pow pow and he decides that he's going to take Gary out. And I'm pretty sure, that he's feeling like Gary deserves it for being on the SA list. So he unloads, reloads, unloads again. They go, they can't find him. They find him outside. You can tell that something like that bad had happened. He'd actually pow-powed him 28 times. And of course, he had planned it all. And he planned it all because he wanted to rid the world of pedos. Now, his brother said that he was never SA'd. They had a very hard bringing up. They were in a lot of foster homes, blah, blah, blah. Um, mm, everybody who has incident, where they're taken advantage of, doesn't necessarily tell other people, especially when it's same-sex crime on crime. A lot of times they don't want to talk about it. They don't want anybody to think that they're, same-sex attracted. And his activities seem like it's more than just standing up for family members and friends who were SA'd and mistreated, which was his reasoning for what he did. And then after he did that, he just goes off and he left Gary where he was. And he goes off and he goes and does his own thing, but he's planning this spree. I mean, so he's ready to go take advantage of another person who he feels is an offender as well. So he found this other guy, Jerry Ray, on the offender list as well, and he goes out there and he takes him out. And I don't think that was the end of it. I mean, if he was getting started, I'm sure he had a list, he had a plan. He was going to get even for people who had hurt children in an SA manner, and he didn't care. And that was his way of maybe fixing his own past. Anyway, love you all. Listen to clue number 3. Please, please, please reach out to me and let me know. I think I'm making this last set fairly easy to decipher who it is. I would love to give out these gifts. So let me know, guys. Love you. Take care. Bye-bye now.